Well, hello, everyone. Today is Monday, November 16th, 2020. This is Angela Hooper-Menifield, and you are now listening to the HR Moment with Menifield and Associates. And so hopefully, like everybody else, today's been for me, today's been a pretty good day. We've been really busy working on some proposals and different things for new contracts. And in the process of just trying to up-level the work of supervisors. And so what we do each Monday, Wednesday, Friday on our HR Moments is talk a little bit about things to help supervisors as they progress and grow. And one of the things that I thought we would talk about today, because we've been talking a lot about new supervisors, but also supervisors who are not so new, but unfortunately are having a difficult time at their work. So we're going to talk a little bit about reasons that supervisors fail. I am trying to actually share my HR moment and I'm struggling, so we're just going to keep going. Okay, thanks for the like or love, whoever just did that. So let's talk a little bit about what are some reasons that supervisors fail. Well, there's one report that I was looking at, and it spoke to something that I wanted to bring out to this topic. And it said one of the top 3 reasons that supervisors fail is because they lack the ability to resolve conflict or the ability to help others resolve conflict. And so one of the things we know is, as a supervisor, we are often given the responsibility to deal with the problems of other people. That could be conflict from our team, right? So we have a couple of team members that are at odds, having disagreements, sometimes being petty, childish, whatever the case may be. And it's our job to resolve those conflicts. And oftentimes we don't do a really good job of it. I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard of instances that someone had a work-related issue. And then, of course, my first question always is, so what did your supervisor do? And I'm shocked because sometimes it's nothing. And so what can happen, and when I had the responsibility to promote, demote, and remove supervisors, I can tell you, I removed my share of people from supervision, either totally from the organization or demoted them because of their failure to handle and address conflict. Supervisors, and you guys have heard me say it before, and I'll say it again, supervisors are always held to a higher standard. And so when there's conflict, even if we're not in the conflict, there's an expectation that we address it. Just recently, I had a very sweet young lady whose organization I've done a lot of training with recently reach out to me because there was an incident at work and the supervisor was aware. And I said, well, what did your supervisor do? She said nothing. And so again, this is one of the top 3 reasons why supervisors fail, because they fail to address conflict between themselves and others or help others resolve conflict. Now, there's a lot of data out here, right? And so we're not going to read it all, but what we know is the first 24 months of being a supervisor are considered the crucial ones. The first 12, oftentimes, we're even still on what you would call a probationary period as a new supervisor. The government does this. Now, I can't speak to all facets of organizations or all sectors, but within the government, you're on a probationary period, which means if you don't perform well within that first period of time, you can be demoted. There's also often a certain degree of training that is expected that a supervisor would take in order to prepare themselves. But those first months are crucial. And it says that 60%, and this is research by CEB, and CEB is CEB Global. I'm trying to actually tell you who they are because when I cite sources, they do a lot of HR work. But it says 60%, listen to this, 60% of new supervisors fail within the first 24 months of their new position. And the main reason why most new managers fail is because they were never properly trained to manage. Now, you know that is a pet peeve of mine, but I'm telling you, I know that it's true. The reason why I know it's true is because, again, I have confessed to you guys, if you've watched any of my shows, I actually just did a full episode on the Black Entrepreneurs Institute show, and I talked about the fact that unknowingly, right? Like I wasn't doing this on purpose, but I was unknowingly promoting people for technical expertise, just like, you know, other people had done with me. And many of them were put in a position to fail. Definitely not to succeed because they were not equipped. And so CEB saying this is really true because they were never properly trained to manage. Now, back, and this has been a while, it's been, you know, I'm dating myself a little bit on some of this content, but it's still relevant. So LinkedIn actually had an article published by a diversity and HR trainer some years ago and talked about some of the reasons why supervisors typically fail. And it still talks about the same thing is, one, it takes different skills to supervise people. Hey, Linda, how are you? Good to see you. It takes different skills to supervise people. And when supervisors are not effectively trained to focus on morale, and manage and lead people, guess what happens? People start calling in sick, employees begin to bicker and argue, and the teams will not accomplish their objectives. And so it goes back again to that faithful saying we've all heard, people don't quit jobs. They quit supervisors. They quit bosses, right? So the problem is, you know, again, it becomes turnover, apathy, workplace absence, conflict, and low motivation. And so supervisors have to be properly trained. That's basically the gist of it. And so I want you guys to ask yourself, if you're a supervisor, like what type of training were you given prior to taking on this new responsibility? And for a lot of you, it's going to be very little, at least not in the scope of supervising. The second piece of this is once you started to drown and get in trouble, what type of help did you get, right? Because again, we hold supervisors to a higher standard. We give people paper training, but we really don't teach them the skills. And I am a firm advocate of practical application of those skills that you need to better lead and supervise. Now, recently, one of my leadership development friends made a post and was like, what's the difference between supervision and leadership? You know, that's like one of my pet peeves, right? And it's not that there isn't any difference. It becomes my pet peeve because almost everybody responds the same way. They give you all these memes and these sayings that makes leadership look like the best thing since sliced bread. And supervision looks like, you know, only, cavemen still supervise, right? Like it's archaic and there's no longer a use for it. But that's not true. We really do need both. And so what we want to do is think about the fact that there are different times in this journey that our leadership skills come into play, but then there are times that our supervision skills come into play. So that's just, again, my 2 cents, not to beat a dead horse, but so let's talk some more about, again, management, supervisions, and reasons that supervisors fail. Well, another one is because, again, they don't know how to connect with their teams. Now, connection is actually a leadership trait, I would say, but they don't know how to connect with their team. And so when you don't know how to connect with your team, engagement tends to be low. And again, when engagement is low, people really attribute that to the supervisor. It's the same thing with coaching, right? So again, y'all know I'm a big sports fan. I love sports, and football is probably my favorite sport. And so I saw, I've started to see, now we're, past the midway point in the season, and we've even seen this earlier where some coaches are being let go. And when people don't perform at their best, especially if they've had a season where they performed better, we attribute that to the leadership. And some of that, again, is lack of engagement and stuff like that. So that could be a reason managers and supervisors fail. Another reason that pops up a lot when you Google these questions is the inability to get along. I'm going to say that one again. The inability to get along. Oh, I got a good comment. Here's a long one. Let's see what Renee has to say. Hey, Renee. Okay. I once had a manager promoted with no expertise in what I did and told our team he did not have to know what we did to manage the process. We quickly lost confidence in his ability to lead the team because he was constantly asking us to explain stuff to him. So Renee, I find that very interesting. First, let me just say thank you for sharing that journey. So I have supervised people, and I think I've done very well, actually, but that's my opinion. But I've supervised people that I didn't know what they did. So for instance, I used to supervise a whole staff of IT professionals. I'm not an IT person. I think the difference is, how do you approach it? So for me, I wasn't trying to be the IT specialist. I'm thinking that's what I got you for, right? But how do I manage? How do I support them? What do I need to know? So I think there's a difference between thinking I need to know every detail of a job than understanding the overarching objectives and how can I support you. And I had a great relationship with everybody on the IT staff. And sometimes they would talk to me and I'd be like, okay, can you bring it down? You remember Denzel in Philadelphia? Can you explain it to me like a 8-year-old or third grader? So it is possible to actually lead and manage people whose work you don't know. However, it's all about how it's dealt with. But again, I wouldn't pretend I knew things I didn't know, but what I would do is explain to them that, you know what, this is not my expertise. So Renee, I'm going to defer to you as the expert. Help me to understand some of the challenges you're dealing with. How can I support you? And tell me what you need from me, which is a little different than micromanaging you, right? Like acting like I know how to do everything and trying to do it and then, falling on my face. And so it's the same thing as like when going to meetings. There are times that a leader will go to meetings, and you see this a lot in government because a lot of the people who will get appointed to some of these political positions get appointed because of their roles and their relationships and not because of their expertise. And they'll be over departments that they're not the expert. But they depend on the civil servants, right? The people who are the higher ranking individuals in the organization to prepare briefing notebooks and to help them understand the role. And I've been one of those people who prepared briefing notebooks. But I always admired the politicals appointees who acknowledged, like, I don't know the answers to these questions. But they did the homework, they studied, they became abreast, they asked questions, they visited sites, like they became more knowledgeable as their time went on. And in key discussions with people with those degrees of expertise, they invited the experts to the room, right? Like they didn't pretend like they knew it all. But what they did do was say, hey, I'm going to bring Angela with me. And so when certain questions would come up that were highly technical, they would say, I'll let Angela take this one. So they weren't trying to get all the credit. They weren't trying to be the big shot. They understood that they didn't have to know everything. But Renee, your point is right on, right? There are times when we show up and we don't know anything. And then there's the sentiment on the team, like, how you get this job? Like, they should have appointed me. But that's when we talk about the difference between leading people versus technical expertise. I don't think you need both. Both are great, but you can do it. And so when it talks about this last article I was mentioning, and thank you for that, Renee, it said that these people have poor interpersonal skills. And so they don't have the capacity, again, to really get along and work with people. And they also view conflict as bad, right? Like, so I've never viewed conflict as bad. Um, a lot of people think I like conflict. That's not an accurate statement about me. I don't know. Well, I do actually avoid it sometimes, but I don't mind it, because sometimes we have the best conversations after conflict because, things got really heated. And so Renee says it was his attitude more than anything. He acted like he was the smartest person in the room. So we left him out there a few times before he got the point. Yes, yes, your team will do that to you. Again, I mentioned that on the show this week. Like, people will push back. They don't want to be micromanaged. They don't want to work with the know-it-all. Even if we are experts, one of the things I tell a lot of people in our business boot camps, right? Because I also help entrepreneurs with their business. But I say things like, be a likable expert, but just don't be the expert. Nobody likes that person. And that's why, I try to tell you guys funny stories and to connect with you, because I'm trying to be a likable expert. Hopefully you guys like me. If not, hey, I'll keep working on it. And some people may never like us, and that's okay too. But the point here is your team will push back. And if they push back too much, you will find that you will fail. And organizations have to definitely consider the culture of the team, who they bring in, how that dynamic will work. Because again, oftentimes when it's all said and done, I go back to say, who made this decision and why didn't they think through it a little better? Because this was a no-win situation from the start. So it's just something to think about. Now, I believe in resources, right? And so it's funny how when you put that up, it changes the dynamic of my life. Isn't that funny? But here is our 30-day growth journal for new supervisors. I continue to encourage you to do a couple of things. Like, if you got a bad supervisor now, maybe you should buy them one. I'm going to put the link in the comments, but we are, I think, official come Wednesday. But this is a great resource for supervisors in order to help them really navigate this terrain, right? It's not easy. It's just not easy. And Renee has given us a couple of examples of it not being easy, right? And so what we want to do is make sure that we're putting ourselves and our team in the position in order to win. So, Anthony, so good to see you today. Hey, my friend. So we want to put people in a position to win. People want to win. Nobody wants to struggle, and a lot of people are struggling. And this is a great resource. I think the lighting is so funny how it changes, isn't that? But this is a great resource. It's finite in days. It's not going to take you on a long journey, but it's a foundational journey. And so we want you to consider our Supervisor Academy journal for new supervisors. And again, when I use the word new has two meanings for me, right? New is fresh, promoted within that first 6 to 24 months, because we already talked earlier about 60% of new supervisors fail within the first 24 months. But also new as in maybe you've been doing it for a while, but you realize you are struggling to stay afloat. Or maybe you used to be better at it and you've just lost your zest because your team is wearing you out. And again, leading and supervising in today's climate with so much happening, right? It's just added to the stress. I actually read an article today, and we'll be talking about it on the podcast, but we'll be talking about, are you new to your role, Sherry? If you're new to a role, you need this, right? And even if you're not so new, or maybe you know somebody who's new, but yeah, go to that link here and pre-order a journal. I think that'll help you. But yes, if you're new to your role, this is perfect for you. But an article I read today talked about some HR professionals were actually surveyed, and it was over 70% of them have said that this has been the most stressful year for them of, I guess all their other years. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit on our podcast. this next week. But just think about that. Like if the HR professionals are so stressed out, right? Because they're dealing with the complaints, they're dealing with the supervisors, employees, hires, probably letting people off and all that. What kind of stress is this putting on our team, on our supervisors as well? And so people need resources. They need a way. And again, I'm a big proponent of journaling, and I know for a fact the power of journaling. So I just want to encourage you guys, again, buy it as gifts. We're actually going to do a Black Friday sale because, why not, right? Everybody else does. But great gift, end of year gift. Start the year off with a bang or finish the year off strong. But either way, get your journal, your supervisor journal. I'm trying to hold it in a way that doesn't distort the light too much on these videos. But yeah, Sherry, send me a message if you didn't get the link, and I can message you as well. But yes, new supervisors. And we're going to start doing some monthly webinars as well for new supervisors. HR moments are great. Facebook Lives are great. But I know there's a great need of training for supervisors out here. And so we're going to start doing monthly webinars as well. So stay tuned for that. Message me, inbox me. You guys know how to reach me on all the different platforms. I read the comments. Okay, Sherry, let's see what you got here. You said one of the issues we face in working with new managers is they need to help young people with adulting behaviors. Most are not prepared for that. Yes, I so agree. And so in the journal, just to tell you a little bit about it, what we do is, because everybody's loving the quotes and all that, but we do more than quotes. So we have quotes, but then we have prompts. And one of the prompts is exactly that, reminding us as supervisors, guess what? We were green too. We were new, and we have to help people with being professional and, as you say, adulting and things like that. And that's our role as supervisor. We mentor, we coach, we train, we help people up level. The problem is many of us get promoted and nobody helped us up level. And so we don't even have the resources or the tools to help our young employees, as Sherry said. And some of us resent it. Like we say to ourselves, well, I had to struggle and figure it out, so let them figure it out, right? That's so terrible. We can't be that way. A good supervisor manages, leads, equips, builds up his or her team. So we want to be that person. But no, Sherry, that is a valid point. Thank you so much for the feedback. Yeah, thank you so much. But again, if anything that we can do to help the supervisors in your organization, like I said, I think this is a great resource. And we actually have bundles. So I think it's pack of 5 bundles for whole teams. And we're also putting together, Anthony shouting you out, Sherry. He said, you are in a fire way, in a hot way. You are in a hot way. I guess that's what that means. You don't trying to read. I'm not a big emoji person, but I get it, Anthony. You shouting her out. She's killing it, right? But also giving some resources so you can take your team through it and you can be on the journey together. Because I think that part is really important. One of my favorite sayings is, when we grow, we don't grow alone, right? So we take other people with us on the journey. And so that's what we want to do here. But thank you guys, Anthony, Sherry, Renee, Linda. It's hard some days. We get out here, we try to keep the momentum and do this work that we do. And so feedback is always appreciated. Comments, thoughts. Again, message me if you watch the replay. Feel free to reach out if there's anything I can do to help you or your team. And like I said, you can always go to our website at supervisoracademy.com/journal. And either enroll your team into some supervisory training, monthly trainings with experts on demand and things like that. Or, like I said, you can just come grab the journal for now. It's a great way to start the process. So thank you guys. Again, I'm Angela Hooper-Menifield, Menifield Associates, and the B.E.S.T Supervisor Academy and Symposium. Anthony, you said your niece made you learn emojis somewhat. That is so funny. And then Sherry said, definitely purchasing for managers struggling. Oh, thank you, Sherry. I so appreciate that. I'm actually sending out the first few copies from me personally. So I'll sign it for your manager. If you let me know who that is, I'll definitely take care of that for you. Thank you so much for your support. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back on Wednesday evening or late afternoon for our HR moment for the week. Take care. Help somebody. And if you see somebody struggling, let them know that there are resources for them. And if nothing else, they can go to our YouTube channel because all these videos go there. So there's like a ton of them there. Thank you again, Sherry. I appreciate you. And I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Bye.